Today we are going to speak about languages and how you can improve a language. It looks Samanok.
Comment allez-vous?
So indeed it's not really easy. Because when it's our mother tongue, it sounds so natural. We don't even think if there is another language out there. We even sometimes believe that the language we speak is the only language spoken everywhere in the world. At least for me, in my case, I thought French, which is my mother tongue, was the only language spoken everywhere in the world. Until my mom told me, well, no, actually, this is not true. And it was very weird, the first impression I heard that from my mom, because I was maybe 5 or 6, I don't even know how old I was. And to me, like how people can, to me, like the only main language, like the basic language was French. And then I thought people would obviously know French as a skeleton language, as a basic language, but actually not. And I thought, yeah, French is like everybody thinks in French, right? And actually, no, it's not the case. And we can survive without knowing French. And the same for you, for whatsoever language you speak. If you speak Italian, if Italian is your mother tongue, people can survive even if they don't know Italian as a mother language. Or when I say, I don't know, for people who speaks Bisaya, Tagalog, or whatsoever from different countries. Here it's from the Philippines. I mean, in the Philippines, it's maybe not a really good example because I believe people learn English very early, so maybe they don't even have the time to realize that way. But I believe it's still a bit weird because probably when you speak in the streets or with your family, usually you wouldn't speak too much of English. However, nowadays with the internet, probably younger and younger generation know better and better English because when you go to YouTube, when you go to video platforms, it's always in English. Even before in the past, actually, with movies, of course, it was the same. So this is at least my impression I had when I realized actually French wasn't the only language in the world. And until 5 or 6, until quite late, I thought French was the only language in the world. And this is how people would communicate. It's like everybody, when you walk in the street, the way we move is always on our feet. We walk with our legs, and I think this is universal. Normally, humans won't really walk on their all fours. It's not it's not that convenient. And I thought it was the same for languages. And obviously, learning a new language sometimes can be a challenge, especially when you start later. The later you start, the harder it is. In my case, I'm from Belgium, and I know some lucky kids who, when you live nearby the border with Flanders, where people speak Dutch, or where you live nearby the other border where people speak French, you would be at school speaking French, speaking usually Dutch, and in your family you would speak French. Like for my mother, for my grandmother, it was a tradition for her. All the kids would go to school in Flanders speaking only Dutch, and in your family it was a tradition to speak French. It's a family tradition, but also it helps to know many more languages. And then when you will be 18, you will be sent to the UK, for instance, to perhaps go to the university in the UK. Well, nowadays, of course, you need English exam. You need a good level of English to go to the uni there. But before it wasn't the case. Like 50 years ago, of course, it was simpler. And so you would be like, you would end up speaking 3 languages like so easy. It will be like a game almost, because since if you start at least speaking two languages when you are so young, and sometimes the kid is lucky to have one dad speak. I mean, of course, you have one dad normally, but having one parent speaking one language and the other parent speaking another language, and if both parents know those two languages, it's fine, because I know that sometimes it can be hard when you have a kid, and I don't know, in my case I would speak French and my wife would speak another language, but because she would be from a different country, speaking a different language, and it would be nice for the kid to know those two languages, especially if I don't know, like big languages like English, French, German, and so on. But if you don't understand the other language, it's a bit frustrating, because then obviously I know it's nice also to know what the dad or what the mom speaks. Like communication is important, and then maybe they will end up always speaking the same language also with the kids. But it's nice, to start very early. And actually nowadays there are a huge effort, and in most of countries, nowadays from even 6, even before, in kindergarten, you would speak already foreign language, such as English, Chinese, or I don't know, language widely spoken, Spanish perhaps. So here obviously I have my lovely guest, and I want to discuss this beautiful topic with her from the Philippines. So what's your opinion?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's start with the first impression about people and other languages. For me, I think I don't really think that, let's say, my native tongue is the only language spoken by everybody, because you see, when we're drilled from a very young age to learn the national language of my country and then English. So then, in your mind you'd think, okay, my native tongue is not the only language in this world. You learn that early on, different from what your experience.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, very different. So starting from probably 8 or 7 perhaps, I mean, we start to learn, we speak our native language at home, probably at school as well with our friends, but then we have classes for the national language. So we have to learn that language.
National language,
which is Filipino, Tagalog, yes.
Tagalog. Do you know how many official languages?
There's a lot, to be honest. There's a lot.
Like 10 or
10 maybe?
10.
10, yeah. Because some languages in the Philippines I don't even understand. I understand 2, but the rest I don't.
Some are maybe quite rare.
Some are just, they don't relate much to my own native language. So probably I know only 2, and then also early on in our educational system, we also learn English from 8 till the end of years. Yeah,
which is really good.
It's so good. Already. It helps a lot.
Do you know why you speak English that early in the Philippines?
I think because you would think that English is a much more formal language, I would say, in a business setting.
So when you work in some offices in the Philippines, you would speak English?
Yes, the medium of documentation is English. Sometimes that also is a Filipino's, Tagalog language. It's usually, some documents are also written in that language, but then, when you think about formality and just to, you want to sound professional, it kind of sounds good in English. Yeah.
So like English is like the business language?
Probably, kind of, and also it's good to know English, and sometimes our medium of entertainment is English as well, so that helps.
Of course.
Some good books, actually, classic ones are written in English, so it's good to learn English. Yeah.
So for you, how was your experience learning English?
I love it. I love it
directly.
so
You
much.
never had, oh, why I have to learn English?
No.
It was so easy.
No, not at all. It's like it also depends on you. Most of Filipinos, actually all of us, understand English, I think, and then speak a bit to some, and then yeah, it it's part of our entertainment educational system. English is part of it, and then yeah, but it also depends on you and how you want to improve. Because for me, I really love reading books.
So
That's where I learned.
yeah, you don't really have to speak English every day, just to
No.
understand reading. Yeah, being able to read obviously English now on TV, movies, a lot of content on the internet is in
Yes.
English. So that's why for you it's much more natural to speak English.
Yeah.
Like in my case, all the content French would consume. Well, normally it's always, I mean, there's so much in French, so you wouldn't put too much effort to speak a different language. And I think now it's mandatory to learn English in Belgium. Mandatory, actually, I'm not sure. But at least I didn't learn English until I was 18 because I didn't, it's normal to don't speak English, which is sad to me. It's funny when you said English is like kind of business language in the Philippines, to be more formal, because I know actually French is a case in some countries such as Ivory Coast or some countries in Africa. They use French as the business language, and they use the other language like in everyday daily basis. So that's also a bit of tradition. But let's keep the topic of our let's say topic today.
Yes.
Did you learn another language beside of English? Because for you it was almost so like you didn't really experiment the difficulties of learning a new language because you were 6, 7, and you were reading for you was like, wow, I love reading a lot of books such as Stephen King, and even Stephen King, I believe you need a really good English.
Yes. Good
Because
vocabulary.
it's not children books.
No, it's not.
So English wasn't that a challenge. What do you do when you don't understand a word?
Context clue helps. I mean, in the sentence, they would say a word that, what does it mean? But then the context clue gives you an idea of what the word means.
So sometimes you would read twice the same sentence.
Yes. And then, when context clue doesn't help at all, then you start looking at the dictionary, or because I didn't have internet back at that time. Of course. Yeah. And then some words, actually, I failed to pronounce them properly because I think that this is how you say it, but then actually not.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then I know the meaning, but then I don't know how to pronounce them.
In my case, something that helped me a lot is to use the phonetic alphabet. For English, you have usually in some dictionaries as well, you have the phonetic alphabet next to the word, and by reading the phonetic alphabet how to pronounce the word, with a special letters.
That one I'm not familiar.
When you cannot use you cannot use the speaker, the voice. Phonetic alphabet would help. So did you try to learn a different language?
Actually, I did.
You did.
It's very difficult, especially starting from not starting from a very young age, which I really think that you learn English at the age of 18 is like, wow, I think that's amazing. Yeah. Because learning a language when you're, adult or like a bit older, it's so difficult.
Especially when the language is also totally different.
Totally different. I tried learning Japanese, by the way, and it's, I'm lucky because compared to French, it's like I think French is harder than Japanese because like they hear the difference of how I speak the R. It's just like,
oh yes,
I laugh at myself all the time.
The R, yeah.
But then with Japanese, it's straightforward. But then
In Japanese, do they have a special R? Do they have R?
I don't think they pronounce R.
I know Japanese have difficulties in English because in English there are words they don't have in Japanese.
Yes, the R is pronounced as L, I think.
So that's why they
When your name is Rhea, it's Leia for the Rhea. They don't
Interesting.
Don't quote me on that though, but that's
So that was your learning experience with Japanese. So when did you start learning Japanese?
I mean, it's not.
Why did you want to learn Japanese? Did you have a Japanese classmate, or was it because you really liked Japanese movies or cartoon animes, perhaps?
It started with anime, but then you gradually steer away from the product of the country, but go to the country itself, where I think it's beautiful. Country is beautiful, I think.
So first, you're watching a lot of videos, and
I got fascinated.
Yeah, one day you watched an anime, and you really liked it.
I really liked it.
It was in Japanese.
It was in Japanese, yeah. And so
with a subtitle.
With a subtitle, and you start picking up words from there actually, which is really nice too.
So for you, a good advice is actually to watch a movie, for instance, or anime or whatsoever, with original language and the subtitles.
Subtitles, not
in your language.
Yes, English to be good, because to be honest with you, I have a really difficult time reading Tagalog and Bisaya.
It's too long? Or?
It's too... I think my tongue gets tired. I don't know why, but with English, it's just it's quick.
Especially for the subtitles, maybe it goes too fast.
Yes, it does.
Because sometimes you don't have... In French, I have that issue with the subtitles. I don't have... when they speak quite quick in French, for the same sentence in English, it's much longer in French. So you don't have time to read the whole paragraph, and it's already the next one
line,
and the next line, and so you just your eyes are just on the letters, and you don't even watch the movie anymore. Like you're just you have to keep track of all the letters. You try. It's like speed reading.
Yes.
But a movie shouldn't be speed reading actually. Yeah. So that was, I think now it will be easier. In my case, because I know much better English, so I wouldn't have to focus too much on the subtitles, because just a few words if I don't really understand the context. But obviously, if I have to learn a different language, apparently yes, the best way to start learning a new language, and nowadays with Netflix generation. Generation Y, all the kids are watching Netflix, and actually they get so good at learning a new language, because first you watch the movie, original version with subtitles, and then you change to subtitle in, maybe the very first, if it's possible, first watching the movie with a dub in your mother tongue language, if it's possible. I know that in Tagalog or Bisaya it's not available, usually not. Maybe children movies, but yes, you could do that, and then you can switch with original version and subtitles, and then you switch the subtitle to the same language. So in your case, it will be Japanese for the subtitles as well after.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you did try, but
I did.
Because especially when the language when the pronunciation of the word is different with the spelling, then you realize, this is how they spell that word. Especially even in English, I don't know in Japanese, because in Japanese it's on the same alphabet.
No,
it's
not.
just characters, so that's different. But in English, like, I don't know, eyes.
Yes.
Eyes, wow, oh yeah, you spell that word that way, of course, it's different.
Yeah.
Like, or even the number 2, it's not 2, it's 2, yeah. It's, it's funny.
Yeah.
When you are obviously very beginner of the language, when you just learn. So what was I would be very interested to know how you started to learn Japanese, because at school you didn't have an option to learn Japanese, did you?
No, not
No.
really.
You had no one, you had no Japanese friends, you had no courses, you just learned Japanese on your own.
On my own.
And now I think you have already the basic level. You can ask, if you are lost, you can mostly ask, do you know where is the bakery?
I can't. I can't actually. I can't. Okay. I can't. But then probably.
Because you, at least from what you shared with me,
Mm-hmm.
is that you you already have a basic level. Maybe not where is the bakery,
No.
but you could ask,
I can introduce myself though.
introduce yourself, your name, how old you are, where you are from, and greeting maybe.
Oh my, just the greetings, but not the difficult ones. Maybe, okay, let's just say I'm a beginner, but like 1%, I think.
Okay.
Don't expect too much people.
But from what I heard, also some
Basic
some
grammar.
words that are not that common,
Yes.
maybe from movies, and that's
Mhm.
why I don't even remember, but you told me some words. I was even surprised you knew that word. You
Oh,
even
yeah.
know how to say chicken, right? Or some food.
Chicken?
Yeah, don't know.
No, not chicken. How do you say chicken in Bisaya?
Manok.
How do you say chicken in French?
Well, poulet.
Poulet.
Poulet. Yes.
Poulet.
You see, there's a T at the end. It's Poulet, but you don't say the T.
See? French is difficult, I tell you.
I think I think Bisaya is a really cute language.
It's straightforward too. Like you don't have to don't say the T because
I like it.
just say everything.
It's a kind of cute language. I
Yeah.
have to admit. So the way, what was your process? Did you try first watching a lot? You love so much. First, it started by anime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you know the name of the
anime
anime?
that started it all?
Yes.
Started it all. Of course I do. I still remember that.
Can you
I came
share?
from a trip from Manila,
Yes.
and then my sister had
A
this
trip from Manila
Yes.
to where?
from Manila. So I came from Manila
yes.
to
Which
to
is the
my-
capital of the Philippines.
which is the capital of the Philippines, to all the geographic nerds out there.
Mhm.
And then I came from a trip to Manila, and then I came home, and my sister had this CD, and she said,
Do you mean DVD?
a DVD, yes. And I bought this DVD. Watch the anime, it's so good. And then I popped it on the CD player.
How she knew you would like it?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. She just said that.
And it was your first anime Japanese?
really.
No.
Not really, because
But that one was the main wow where you said.
that one was
you
like
really
in
liked.
in Japanese language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That one, the anime title actually it's called Special A.
Special A.
Special A, yeah.
In English.
Not Special K.
Oh yeah.
No, but in
But in
English,
English.
it's in Special. Yeah, the name is Special A. So yeah, I really liked that. And then that.
And this is how. This was your first one in Japanese.
Yes.
Because before it was in English.
Before it was in Tagalog actually.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
what a surprise! Oh, yeah.
Card Captor Sakura.
Oh, Captain Sakura.
Card Captor Sakura. Yeah, it's yeah. I watched that when I was in kindergarten. I'm like, wow, so fascinated by it. It's like, wow. But then I heard it in Japanese as the other anime. It's like, well, that is the catalyst of my obsession, I would say, of the Japanese anime, which turned into an obsession to the Japanese. Not really an obsession now, since I've toned it down a bit. But then yeah, I'm now really into, not into, but more like I'm interested in knowing the Japanese culture, just experiencing.
Because before you were not really interested about Japan.
No, I was more interested about what they produce, which is anime.
Oh yes, and then you learned the culture.
Yeah.
And
Because actually, not those kind of fake like those RPG animes.
Mm.
Those those kinds of anime that doesn't really exist. But there are slice of life animes where there are students going to school and then they have fun. They're on the train, and it reflects the lifestyle of Japanese people, Japanese
Wow.
students.
I
Yeah.
see.
So it's
So at the same time, yeah, obviously, it's like when you watch a lot of American movies,
yes, you
it's-
would think that is how they live.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm also highly influenced by American media. So
Oh yeah. But I think it's really good actually when you learn a language. If you are not forced to learn a language you don't want to learn, because English nowadays, of course, almost everybody has to learn English. Even for the ones who really don't want to learn English, it will be sad not to learn English because it's actually a passport to go everywhere. Even if you stay at home, you can consume many more contents.
yeah,
And you will understand also like so many more things. Even advertisings on TV, they say some words in English. It's still easy to understand and to know, oh yeah, that's the reason why it's the name is like this. Or like today I learned that actually there was a biscuit I was eating when I was a kid, and the name is, in French we say Saint-Weaver, and the spelling is actually Saint and wafer.
yes,
Saint-Wafer.
Saint-Wafer.
And I didn't know it means Saint-Wafer. Like it was just a name for me before, and actually it comes from English. The Saint-Wafer, it's like, yeah, of course. Now, like only now, since today, it's crazy. It's kind of crazy.
You're today years old when you found out.
Yes, and the first time I ate that one because it's so famous in Belgium, I was probably 5 or 6. I was a kid, and probably my parents, I don't know, maybe they know the reason. I mean the name behind, but they never told me. And it's the same for a lot of things. English is so important, but then when you have to learn another language, either you are forced to learn that language because you have an opportunity somewhere abroad, and obviously to be integrated to the country, you have to speak the language. I don't know, imagine you have an opportunity to work in China or maybe
Germany.
in Spain or Germany. You are not that interested to speak German, but because you know that you will have maybe to stay there for 5 years because that contract with your company is for 5 years or 4 years, well, you should speak a bit of German, especially when it's not in Berlin and when maybe your company will be somewhere, a smaller town. It will be good for you, but you're not really forced, but in a sense a bit. Sometimes I know some companies, they pay you for to learn the language as well, because they want you to be integrated, for to be happier. It's better, otherwise you won't have many friends, local friends. But sometimes it's really hard, especially if you are older, like if you're already 40, if you already have a family, and if every evening you speak with your wife or your husband in your mother tongue, it will be harder to pick up the language of the new country you are in your home. And that's one of the reasons it's hard sometimes to speak a language. But when you can choose to learn what language you wish, is obviously when you are like so fascinated with I don't know, Korean culture or Japanese culture or maybe Chinese culture. In my case, it was Russia, so Russian language. When you are really fascinated, when you are so fascinated about a culture, first you will learn the culture, you will watch a lot of videos, animes, and so on, and probably it will be easier for you because you are not just learning a language, you are learning something you are passionate about.
Yes,
And usually the language reflects also about the culture. So more you know about the culture, better you know why in a language you don't have every word. I think in Japanese, for instance, the no is not good. I mean, people don't really say no. Normally people wouldn't say no, like,
Ie.
yeah,
They would say ie.
oh yeah. But I think in the street, if you ask someone, I don't know, oh, I'm lost, can you tell me where is the train station?
Wakaranai.
If they don't know it, they will try to give you a direction, because it's a bit impolite to say no. And I think they don't really say no with the sign with the head. They're not used to say no with the head, because it's bad to say no. But yeah, that's not really about learning a language, but sometimes it's helpful to learn also a bit of the culture, because it's not only speaking well a language, but if you don't know the code of the culture, it won't help you much. If you want to be integrated, you know where the language, but you don't behave the way local people behave, you will still be seen as a foreigner who doesn't really adapt himself, herself. Although you know very well the language, but I believe it's not just learning the language, but it's also about, I know like in Japan, for instance, politeness is really important, and respect. And of course, if you behave the opposite of that, even if you know well Japanese, it won't help you to be more, to speak more with the local. I have no idea, maybe what I say is not right, but I believe it's also very important to know the culture, and at least for me it's so important to know the language, the culture, and the more the content. I mean, you have to consume a lot of content.
Funny thing is, if you're a foreigner, maybe speaking Japanese or Korean, they'll be more forgiving. Because they understand that he's a foreigner, he doesn't know what he's doing.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
So don't be shy and just practice.
Yeah. Just practice until you're best, no?
Oh yes.
That's the best. But how about you? How did you learn English at a very ripe age of 18?
So I will say first my tips I use to learn English, and because maybe for you it will be so obvious to do that, but believe me, at least none of my friends back in my home country, even my sister who wanted to learn English for many years, do it. So not a lot of people I know do this. Obviously I'm not the only one. I know some, but back home, no, I don't. I know some from where I met when I was overseas. So when I started to learn English, I directly put my phone and my computer in English. Everything, not in French anymore. Everything, I changed the language in English. Even my parents told me, why is in English now? And for me it was so important, because what you use on the daily basis, why it has to be in French? Because you want to be in immersion. I mean, you want to be like, if it's not just about practicing 10 minutes on Duolingo to learn well a language, it's just to have English words everywhere. So I changed my phone to English, the same with my computer, and actually later on, for the little story, I did the same for Spanish when I was in Spain to learn Spanish. It didn't work that, I mean, in English it helped me better than in Spanish, and I did the same for Russian. But after you just get the word and you don't even practice, it's like a button. You just know at what position is settings, what position is information, I don't know, apps, privacy. You just guess where it is, and so you don't even know what it means.
Internalize, you mean?
Yeah, so it didn't help me that much, but I believe you should do that, because at least for English it was so helpful to change everything in English. I tried my best always, even when I was a student, to when I was at the university, to have to do research on Google, not to do it in French, but always to research in English, always. And so obviously the answer I will receive from the search engine will be in English too, and the website also will be in English. And then I would have to translate things I don't know, and there was so plenty of words, like 80-90% of the words I didn't know, so I had to translate almost 90% of the page. But that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
So obviously the time you would do the research, normally it's supposed to take you 1 minute, and for me it was taking I would spend maybe 3 times more or 5 times more of the time, but I was not just doing the research, I was also learning English. So I was willing to spend more time. Obviously, if you're in a hurry, then you should just search in French, in your mother tongue, but otherwise that's just fine. And when I was going to bed, I was always putting my headphone with, for me it was Assimil. So Assimil is a kind of a French method to learn a new language. Assimil, it's a method, it's a language method. And I had a CD that MP3 actually, and I put it on my. I had back at the time I had a iPod, so I was listening that English lesson. It was like 12 or 24 lessons in total, and after it will be harder and harder. First, it was about ordering food in a plane. So it was someone who was about to go to London, and so she would in the beginning of the lesson she would order, like in the plane it was, would you like chicken or beef for the meal? I would like beef, please. It was a bit like this. Would you like tea or coffee? I would like tea. And for me that was already hard. Wow, I can order a tea. That's amazing. I was so happy. And every night, for the whole night, I would sleep with my headphone on. With my headphone and the lesson playing for the whole night. And I would wake up again with an English song. It was all the time I was trying to learn, all the time, non-stop. But I'm not actually, some people, they are much better at learning languages. They learn, they're just made for learning new languages. For me, it's the opposite. I'm not someone, my brain is not good for learning new languages. I know that. You have to know your weaknesses. I'm not good for learning new languages. It's just part of who you are. And I'm really bad. That's why it took me much more time. Although I started very late, still, I was practicing a lot. So for the amount of time I was practicing English, it was a lot. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos to learn English. It's like a few people in a flat in London speaking English, and I was watching that all the time with a subtitle. I was really trying. Even my dream was actually to dream in English. When I would wake up, sometimes I dream, and my dream was always in French. And now I can dream in English. I can
you
actually.
Do?
Yes, I do.
Wow, you've achieved your dream. Oh my god.
But before, no, it was impossible. And now I also think in English. Before, even thinking wasn't possible. Obviously, I believe like everybody who speaks well different languages, you think, like if I speak French, I would think in French. Like if I go to Belgium or to France, I would think in French if I read or if I consume French content. But now if I consume or if I speak in English, I would think in English. I believe it's the same for you too.
For me?
Is it like?
Well,
probably.
I don't know, because
when you are thinking, when you have thoughts, it's in English. No?
I think this is one of our barriers when it comes to English. It's because for us, we try to, when we hear people speaking English, to some, it's not the case for me. But I heard some people say that they translate what they are hearing to their own language,
really?
and then respond.
So it's a bit slow.
It's a bit slow.
I never did that though.
For me, it's like no, me too. But then I'm not sure if I think in English.
It's odd. My mom would probably do this for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe did I in the past? I definitely don't do it anymore. I don't know if I do. It's like when you are abroad and you convert the currency to your home currency.
No, that's not a good idea.
It makes sense when you spend with your
Own currency.
home currency.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. But when you spend with your like here we are in Australia, we spend money with Australian dollars. So it doesn't make sense to convert to,
yeah,
in my
no.
case, if I convert to euros, no. However, if I have to spend in euros, maybe I would know more or less how much it is in euros. Although here in euros it will always be less. So actually, if I think, oh, that price is in euros, I will be always safe because I know that I will never spend more than the price is displayed, because in euros it will always be less. If it's $4, actually I would spend maybe €3. But in some countries, it's the other way around.
Yes.
In Canada, 5 Canadian dollar actually, not in Canada, sorry, but in the UK, for instance. In the UK, £6, it's actually €9 or even 10. So I have to be more careful.
Oh. Yeah.
But obviously when you spend with local currency, it doesn't really make sense. But I know many people who are actually doing that.
But going back to languages, why do we speak about this again? But
about converting is because when you translate words, you are saying that some people.
Oh yeah.
They translate what they speak to they.
Yes.
To
oh yeah. So we were speaking about
tongue.
Thinking in English or thinking in our mother tongue. But for me, I'm not really sure. Do I even? I don't know. Maybe it's too natural for me.
Mm-mm.
That's why I don't think anymore. I'm
No,
like just listening to what they're saying, and then if I understood and then I respond in English, I don't even think at all. I don't know. Maybe I should, observe myself. I'll get back to you on that.
Sometimes actually it's a good exercise also to speak in the new language you are learning and to record yourself, because you are usually not really aware of the mistakes.
That's right. You're not aware at all.
No.
But the
you are
third
so
party
focused
is.
on the words you are using that you don't even know. You are repeating the same mistake over and over again until someone tells you what you say is not right.
Yeah, and make them say what?
Yeah. That's
it helps.
Good. Yeah. It helps also.
It helps.
So in my case I did that immersion. So when you try to learn a new language, try to put your phone, your computer, everything in the new language you are going to learn. Although for me, for Russian and Spanish, it didn't help me that much, but still it did a bit, because after you try to find some tricks, and so you don't even translate the word, and you just know where is that setting in your computer. That's it. Try to always do research on search engines in the new language. Try to only force yourself to consume things in the new language and not in your mother tongue. Try to speak with as many as people in the new language. You have websites like iTalk. I know that is it's a good website. I've never learned a language there, but I know some people who did. And sometimes it's really cheap. And actually anyone can be a teacher there on iTalk. And you have some people like teaching you English, but they are maybe, I don't know, for you, for instance, you want to speak French, you can have someone on iTalk, but they don't live in France anymore. They live maybe now in Bali. And so they will, the lesson will be like, when they start on iTalk, they just want to have good reviews. That's it. So they know that if they charge you $4 an hour, of course they won't make a living, but when they start, they don't care about having a living or not. Usually they already have a job. They do that, just
on the side.
Yeah, on the side, just pocket money. That's it. Not really pocket money, but just to have a bit more at the end of the month. And what they do, they just want to build a nice reputation on the platform, just to have good reviews. So after they will be on the top of the results, and then they will be able to charge much more. But a lot of people there, they are not official professors. They don't have a diploma, but they are just good at languages and they are able to teach you. And so they start by charging you $4 or $5 an hour, which is really cheap. Like it will be impossible to have that price in a school. And for an hour or for 30 minutes, they will try to help you speaking the language. Usually they are passionate, they are nice, they are usually nomads who live a bit everywhere. And it's a good platform to learn a language because, first they know that if they charge you $4, because sometimes it's the first time they use that platform, so maybe they have never been teacher before, so they are also it's also for themselves. They teach you, but they don't charge you a lot because they have to be a better teacher as well. And they know that by charging you just $2 or $3, even if they are not a good teacher, they know that you will never give a 1-star review because, like that person is spending an hour with you remotely, okay, but charging you just $3 an hour, you will never give 1 star. Even if the course was bad, you say, wow, you are still very nice to give that lesson for almost for free. So for you, it's really good, and for the other teacher, it's good to build his or her reputation on the platform. So iTalki, I think, and you have different similar platforms where you can actually learn a lot of languages. I'm sure I will even be able to find Bisaya or Tagalog on that platform. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I didn't use that, but I was using Busu, Bussu, Duolingo. I think everybody knows Duolingo.
Yeah. Babbel.
Yeah, that one as well. And you have a lot of different language apps. But I still believe practicing is the best. You can always, on Bussu, I know that you can find people, you can text them, and you can have a Skype or, Messenger. And so just practicing, you just help each other. It's free, you just help each other and you speak a bit. And obviously when you are in the country, like if you want to learn Japanese, you should always try to order in Japanese. Although maybe in Tokyo they will speak English, I believe you have to go out of your comfort zone. Even in my case, even in London, not a lot of people speak French, but sometimes I knew that I could be understood by just, like I go to a Starbucks, I just show on the menu what I want, they will know, they will understand. Oh yeah, I show, okay, I want the Frappuccino. They will understand I want the Frappuccino. I don't have to speak, I just show on the menu. But it doesn't help myself. I shouldn't do that because I have to speak, even if they don't understand me at the first time, I have to practice. I shouldn't just, show the croissant I want in the fridge. No, I have to say it. And sometimes it's hard to do that because sometimes you feel a bit shy because you believe, you don't want to show your weakness of not speaking the language properly, but it's fine,
It's fine,
So just make mistakes, and this is the best way to learn a language, because if you don't make mistakes, you will never practice, and if you don't practice, you will never know the language.
Yeah, it boggles me how people find it funny that other people have accents,
Oh, yes.
But it's it's a sign that it's not their mother tongue,
and you have to accept it.
Yeah, it's not their first language. They're learning English.
Yes.
So which means that actually they're much more knowledgeable than you are, because maybe you only speak that one language that they're trying to learn.
Indeed.
And then you laugh at them. It's like,
I know.
So I don't, accents are a sign of,
it's not
of,
easy.
of being a multilingual person.
And also, multilingual person. Yeah. And some languages are much harder than others.
That's right.
And sometimes you have also other difficulties. I don't know, you might have dyslexia or other issues I think about. And I think you shouldn't compare yourself with others. When you learn a language, everybody learn in their own pace.
Yeah.
And you should never compare yourself with someone else. Just compare yourself with you yesterday or maybe you the week before.
That's right.
If you compare yourself with other people, it will be so hard to be motivated. Because sometimes, like, I don't know, in my case, I would learn I would meet someone, a French person, who speaks so well English, but maybe what I don't know is that that person lived when he was or she was 6 years old in the USA or in England until 16. So actually, that person knows well English.
Has more advantage.
But you don't know it. That person will say, "Yeah, I'm French. Yeah, that's right too." But actually, or maybe the mom or the dad was is English maybe, or is from a different country, or maybe that person went to a English private school. You can go to a normal school, but the teacher will only speak to you in English. So you have also the same, you will have math, you will have mathematics, geography, history, everything. It's a normal school, except the teacher doesn't speak to you in French, but in English. It's a private school. And obviously that's an advantage.
That's right. Yeah. But
so yeah, don't compare yourself and just try your best. And yeah, I know it's hard to do that, but always when you do a research, when you think, try always to do it in English. Always. And when you go to the shop, try to read as many labels as you can. Labels of tomato sauce or ketchup or mustard, because it sounds a bit silly, but there are a lot of words. I used to read the ingredients, because ingredients sometimes you don't know what is, and that's a really good way to learn. You go to the kitchen and you try to read every label you can find of, I don't know, spices, pasta boxes, and you have so many words. And this is English. It helps you to learn, to improve your vocabulary. And the same if you want to learn Japanese, in the shop maybe you will try to read all ingredients, because there will be so many words you don't know. And you shouldn't, it's easy. Like every day you can improve your skill. Every day.
Wow, but Japanese alphabet is kind of kind of a bit difficult. Like hiragana and katakana, if I'm not mistaken. It's not the usual ones you see in my own language in English, Even French writing is easier to read than the Japanese one, but then I mean the French one is it's a bit tricky, but the Japanese I got zero knowledge at all.
You have to start from scratch.
You have to start from scratch. I tried learning actually, but then it just like when Thanos snaps his finger, it's gone.
Wow. But I know, it's hard.
But you have to be consistent too. That's
and never give up.
Don't give up.
I know a colleague of mine. He is learning Chinese.
Wow.
Every day actually, he's so passionate. Like he's really passionate. He learns 20-30 minutes of Japanese on a special website. Chinese on a specific website every day for 20-30 minutes a day. And I think he did that for already 2 years.
Is he getting good?
I have some Chinese colleagues, and he was trying to say a few words to the Chinese colleagues, and it was sad because they couldn't understand him. But you should not give up, because the problem of the Duolingo, you feel so confident. You say, "Oh, it's so easy. Oh yeah, of course I understand this." Yes, you have to select a few possibilities, or you have a blank, and you have to say, "Yeah, this is a blank," and say, "Wow, I'm so good. The app understands me. Everything is good." And then you go in the street, you try to speak, and then you realize actually my English or the language I speak, the level is really bad. People don't even understand me. I don't even understand them, because when you are at home, on your chair trying to practice a little bit, the level is easy. There's no accent on Duolingo. It's like proper accent, It's like the voice is really clear, and the way you speak maybe is clear too. And obviously, when my first time when I went to London, I thought I had a really good English, and the people around me speaking around me, I couldn't understand them. I said, "Wow, I feel really bad, no?" And those times are the time where you think twice. should I give up or not?
Don't give
And
up.
you shouldn't. But I know it's hard. And the same for my colleague. I know how it feels like when you learn Chinese every day and then you try to speak a bit of Chinese to a Chinese native and that person doesn't understand you or maybe laugh at you because it's not the proper way to say it. You know, you feel a bit why it's not the proper way. To me, it was the proper way, but actually, the accent is so hard to have the same accent.
That's right. Coincidentally, Chinese is the hardest language to learn. It's said.
Yeah.
Chinese is the hardest language to like really be fluent. So don't feel bad, you know.
Yeah, and I know in my case when I say chicken in Bisaya, Manok, I know my accent is funny. Although
it's funny, but it's cute. Don't worry. I'll still understand that you're saying chicken. You know. Don't worry.
Even like it's like samanok, which means the eggs of the chicken.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure I have an accent.
You have an accent. That's right.
You see,
but then,
accents are the hardest to remove.
If I say it log sa manok.
It's like samanok.
Yes.
And the worst part is that it's so hard to know why. For me, it feels like what you said is exactly the same as what I said.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. But actually it's not.
It's not.
Because when your language is native, you know that it's not that you know that the person has an accent, but it's so hard to know to explain why.
That's right. Same with me speaking.
Sometimes it's the stress. The stress is different.
That's
it's
right.
really little details, but with those little details, you know definitely that the person is not native.
Yes. And also from your face, actually. I mean, but also.
You should have a different face when you speak Bisaya.
No, it's just probably he just learned somewhere. Yeah.
Oh yes.
And
it sounds a bit too robotic.
Yeah. And also for me, it's when I try to speak the R of French, it's like for me it's like it's the same, but then. I'm not actually saying it right, so that's why I keep on repeating it. It's still wrong, and then I just end up laughing. And then but I don't beat myself up too much because I know that it's gonna be difficult.
I know, indeed.
But don't give up.
No, so never give up. That's something really important. So, what last advice you would give to someone? In my case, I gave more or less the pieces of advice. To learn a new language, but for you, do you have a last piece of advice you would like to share?
It's almost all the same, but consume the media of the language you want to learn. That's it. Because the more you watch their content, the repetitions of words, and then if you're somebody who's a visual learner like I am, who likes to be entertained while I learn.
Visual, oh yes.
Yeah.
Do you mean when you are reading a book?
I learn as well from that.
Yes, but you prefer to see images,
it would be
videos.
nicer.
So a movie for you is the best.
A movie for me is the best. Hence how my accent is a bit American.
I know some people really like to listen music. In my case, this is the worst to learn a language because I just listen to the melody. And I'm not focused on the lyrics. But I know for some people, music is the best because you have the melody and it's easier. I don't know for you. Did you listen any Japanese
I did,
songs?
Actually.
And how did it help?
I like the melody, but then there's just some words you don't understand. But then
And it's harder to know from the context because sometimes, it doesn't... What the singer says doesn't make sense and there's no context. So maybe it's harder, you don't have clues.
Yeah. But then if you listen to English songs, there's going to be like grammatical errors for sure. Because they try to fit the lyrics to the melody.
That's a
so
problem.
It's not a good idea. Just for me, okay?
Yeah.
Just for me, I think it's not a good idea. But who knows?
Yeah.
To some, it might be effective for
It's
them.
like maybe they will say, I'm loving something, and no, you don't say I'm loving, it's like
Yeah, it's not always gonna be grammatically correct,
But that's fine, it's better, but hopefully a local, a native speaker would tell you
Yeah.
what's not right. But yeah, obviously, it's kind of rare when a native speaker would try to say, oh no, you shouldn't say that, because they don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
Me too. I think if someone do the effort to speak French, I wouldn't stop that person every word that person says to say, no, don't say that way, say that way. No, don't say that way.
Oh, that's too much.
That's too much.
No, that's
but
too
even
much.
Usually, or maybe it's part of the English culture, or maybe it's in every language, I don't know. But I know that everywhere I've been in English countries, such as England, I mean the UK actually, Ireland, Canada, here in Australia, New Zealand as well, no one corrects you. No one corrects you because, I don't know.
Maybe they just really understand.
Yes, but they wouldn't say, oh, no, they wouldn't correct you. Even teachers, sometimes it's rare to have like good feedback from teachers. And the pronunciation is really hard too. Sometimes just a word, working on the pronunciation is just having a one-to-one. Sometimes I believe it's worth to pay the amount of money you have to pay for it, otherwise just try italki, or sometimes the good teachers like from private schools are not the best for the pronunciation, but sometimes it's worth to pay a teacher just to work on your pronunciation. In my case, the English R is so hard to say, and sometimes it's worth to spend an hour to really understand what it doesn't work, and obviously why you cannot say it properly. And obviously watching movies or having a computer in English and trying to speak all the time, if no one works with you to have the correct pronunciation, you will always
make the same mistake. That's right.
Yeah. That's it for me actually.
That's it for me as well.
Learning a new language. Anyway, good luck. We know how hard it can be.
Campare.
Au revoir.